Hi and welcome to another video. So in this video I wanted to go through the setup and the features of the ASUS AiMesh Wi-Fi system. So this is a specific mesh system for only ASUS certain specific routers. So this is their way of using a router, so you can use this. In my case I'm using the GT-AX11000 as my main router. And then you can buy other ASUS specific routers as well, and then turn them into nodes. So basically what they will do is they will connect to your main router that you've got connected to the internet. So they can connect by two different types. So it's Wi-Fi, so they can connect by Wi-Fi network. So if you've got a tri-band like the GTX11000, it will use up one of the networks, probably the 5 gigahertz network, and use that as the backhaul. So that will use that as the connection between the two nodes. And then if you, in my case, if you have your other router as well, that's the RT-AC5300. That's only a dual band, so that means it's only got one 2.4 gigahertz band and one 5 gigahertz band. So if you do use your Wi-Fi to in the AiMesh, it will mean that one of the Wi-Fi networks will be taken away. So you will only be able to connect on one of the networks that are available, or one of the bands. So in this case, I'm using, as you can see at the bottom here, if we use this diagram here, I've got the GT-AX11000 downstairs, and then I've got on the second floor, my connection speed sometimes drops. So what I've done is I want to try out the AiMesh. So as I said, one of the routers that I've got that I found was compatible with AiMesh 2.0 was the RT-AC5300. So it's always best, not all the ASUS routers are compatible with AiMesh. So it's always best to go on their website and check on the features page or specifications to make sure it's AiMesh compatible before you go and buy it. Because when I've looked on Amazon sometimes, or eBay, their descriptions don't always include it. So it's always best to check yourself on the ASUS website for whichever country you're in. So as you can see here, what it's doing here is I've got the GT-AX11000 as the main router, and then I'm going to use my RT-AC5300, and I'm going to use that on the top floor in the spare bedroom. And so that will connect. I've got an Ethernet cable that runs up there, so I can use that as a backhaul. So that means that these two routers will connect between them using Ethernet cable. But if I didn't have that Ethernet, you can use the Wi-Fi, and as we said, you can connect by Wi-Fi on there. So this is the main dashboard, as you see when you log in. So this is the main router. This is the GT-AX11000. So this would be the main router, and then you can add the nodes. So you can see up here the features. So as you can see here, currently it's showing that I've got 25 clients connected, and then also you can select here where this is actually placed, in the living room or home, office, bedroom. So I normally leave it just on home, but you have got many other different lots of different options here, and you can even put a custom one as well. So you can then decide if you've got multiple nodes that you're going to set up all around around the house, or even in the garage, then you need to. One thing to point out as well, if you are going to use Wi-Fi, if you are going to use that, is to make sure that between the two routers they do have a good solid connection between them. So this main one here downstairs, if you've got like four floors, and this is on the very top floor, of course the signal is going to be weak, so it's not going to help at all. So it might barely pick up the Wi-Fi signal, but when you come to connect on your mobile phone, tablet, or even your computer, it'll be very weak signal and it'll be very slow. So you need to make sure that you place these in a specific order. So if you were going to use it, I would say then, if you say you've got multiple floor townhouse, then you put this one on the bottom floor as your main router, then this one is your next node, and then the next one will be up the top here, and that one will connect to this one, and then down here. So of course it will reduce the speed, but you'll still get a stronger Wi-Fi signal than you would without having it. So you've got to balance it out and have expectations as well. You're not going to be getting, if you've got a 1 gigabit connection down here and you are using the AiMesh system using Wi-Fi, the more nodes it repeats through is going to slow it down. So don't expect to get through like 2 different nodes. You're going to get your full 1 gigabit. You're going to get better speeds in the end of the day than you would without it. So as you can see here, it's got straightforward. You've got the add the AiMesh node. So you can click here and it will search, open up a new page, and it will search for the basically the new AI mesh node. Then you've got optimization. So optimization, as it says here, this function optimizes your network. So of course I haven't got any nodes connected yet, but if you clicked that, then it optimizes the network to see if there's different Wi-Fi signals and channels, and then adjusts it for you to get a better speed. As we said here, you can click on clients, so you can see here how many clients are actually connected to this main router, and here it would also list where your current devices are connected to, so if they're connected to your main router downstairs or if they're connected to the upstairs node. And of course then you can split them across wired devices and wireless. And then you've got your network that we saw before. So this one here, I've got currently mine in AP mode, so that means I'm not using the full router features of this, because I've got a PF Sense as the PC using that as a router that I'm testing out right now. But it basically, you got Ethernet, so it tells you your transmission speeds and the average speeds as well, and then the Wi-Fi networks, and so that's always good to have. So as you can see here, the lastly is the system settings, and you can see here you've got your numerous options here. So this one is the Ethernet backhaul mode. So as it says here, if you hover over it, it says if the switch is on, you say to release more wireless bandwidth for end devices to connect, you can enable backhaul mode. So basically, because I've got an Ethernet cable, I can use that to connect the 2 routers together, and then all the channels on the Wi-Fi networks on the routers will be available. If you don't have that, then of course you will have restricted Wi-Fi bandwidth. Then you have the roaming block list, and that brings up this here, that's within the wireless option. As you see under advanced settings, it takes you directly there, and that's where you can then set up certain devices that you've got that you want to add, and basically it will block them from connecting to the node. It will only connect to the main router, so it will block them going to the different nodes. But also just to remember that I think Asus does implement, so it switches off the Asus optimization of where it will swap the actual device over to another node. But your devices like your iPhones, Android phones, tablets and laptops, they have their own basically feature of roaming built into it as a part of the wireless standard, and so that it doesn't stop them doing that. So of course your Wi-Fi name and password is going to be exactly the same as on one of the other nodes that say is upstairs. So if your phone does pick up that and it's a stronger signal, it will connect to that one upstairs as well. So this just blocks it, tries to stop it connecting to other devices or other nodes, but it doesn't totally stop it. If your device does, and probably 99% of the devices still have that built in as the Wi-Fi standard, so they will still go to the actual strongest signal, and if that is closest to it, it will be to one of the nodes because it's got the same password and the same Wi-Fi name. So this does defeat a bit of the actual purpose of actually the block list, but at least it limits it if you really want it to stop. So back to AiMesh. So as we can see here, it's under general. So then you go to system settings GAC. So as we saw, now you can do a system reset to factory default. So that will reset, as it says, the settings, everything back to factory default settings. And then you've got the system reboot where it will reboot the actual routers. So again, you've got the options there. So, and here as well, as we later on as we connect the device, you'll be able to see the topology. So that means it will show you graphical of how they're connected to this main router. So now we'll move on to the administration menu. So this is just a bit more information. So you need to make sure that your router, the main one that is going to be your main AiMesh router, as it says here, is that you have to either choose either one of these. So as you can see here, it says that AiMesh router mode. So your one will probably be defaulted to this, that's fine. And then mine is set to this one. So that means it's just in AP mode. These other ones here aren't actually compatible with AiMesh unless you're actually turning this one into a node. And then you'll see here it's actually turning it into, so you can actually turn this into an AiMesh node from within the administration settings and click save. But for this one, if you're going to make this your main router and this is how you're going to set up the AiMesh, then I'd advise you to use this. So now we'll move on to adding the AiMesh node and some of the perhaps complications or troubleshooting that you might have. So now we have clicked the add AiMesh node. A new window will be displayed, as you can see here, where it searches for your AiMesh nodes nearby. So what this is doing is searching for your other router that you've just got. What you need to do to make sure is that first of all that router hasn't been set up. So you need to make sure that you factory reset it by either using the factory default setting within the settings of the router, or you could use the reset button. That's normally the hardware reset button that's either underneath the router or on the back of the router, and you're clearly marked with reset. So once you've reset that, then it's best, if you're not able to find it, is it will come up here. So as you can see, my one is actually searching right now, and my issue is that even though I've reset my RTAC86U, it doesn't seem to keep being able to be found. So if it can't be found, you will find this kind of troubleshooting error. So it will say they're unable to find AiMesh node nearby. If the device is assigned as an AiMesh router, please check the following and try again. It says your AiMesh node is powered on, your AiMesh node has the latest firmware, and your AiMesh node has been reset to default, and then move your AiMesh node close to the AiMesh router. So there's some troubleshooting things there that you can do, and you can click detect again to actually have a look to see. But on my case, I've tried this several times now and it's not coming through to connect. So what I'm going to have to do is manually see if I can set the other router to an AiMesh node. And so what I'm going to do is go into, as is default settings on the RTAC86U, I'm going to use the Wi-Fi and connect to the Wi-Fi network there, and then go through the setup to make it an AiMesh node, and that's what we'll move on to now. So now I have connected to the Wi-Fi channel, the 5G band on the new RTAC86U that I want to make as a node. And as we said before, in the wizard it wasn't coming up on the main router. So I'm going to see if I can set this up manually, and I'll show you the process. So if you do have any issues like I'm having with the automated wizard, then you can do it this way as well. So logging in to the main router that's going to be the node, instead of creating a new network, you want to click advanced settings. You will then come up with the options here where it says there the RTAC86U supports several operational modes, and then you've got there if you want to upload your previous settings of your router. So we want to choose operation mode, so we click that. And as you can see here, the default is normal wireless router mode, but you've got repeater, access point, media bridge, and AiMesh. So we want to be looking for the AiMesh, so we click that. And as you can see here, the AiMesh system is composed of ASUS routers. You'll set up one router to become your AiMesh router, so that's the GT-AX11000 I've got in the living room, and then add another AiMesh node to expand your network. So they've got here in the diagram here, you can clearly see that when my topology downstairs is the main GT-AX11000 router, and then upstairs I've got the this router here that's going to be turned into the node. So now I can just click next, Now you'll see that you can connect. So connect your modem to the WAN port. So this is if you want to turn this device into the AiMesh router, but we want to turn it into the node as it says here. So the AiMesh system is composed again of ASUS routers, it says again. So I just want to click on, I want to set this device as an AiMesh node. And you can see there's also a diagram here about the modem, AiMesh router, and then the node that's connecting by Wi-Fi. So next it says that I want to set up this device as an AiMesh node. Press next button to reset the AiMesh node and then place the AiMesh node standby near. So basically just put it next to your router as close as possible. And then it says reconnect your AiMesh router to your mobile device. So then we just click next. So now it's asking us go back to the main router, and as you can see there, it says there, please redirect to your AiMesh. If you cannot find your AiMesh router nearby, please make sure you connect. So we need to reconnect to the main router. So this is now set it up in the node. So we need to go back and connect to my normal GT-AX11000 router Wi-Fi channel. So now we've moved back to the main router, the GT-AX11000 that I've got in the living room downstairs. So now we're going to go back to and click again the add AiMesh node. As you can see now, it has come up with the new window we have here for the AiMesh, and it's actually found the new router. So as you can see, this symbol does mean that I've actually connected by Ethernet cable. So I've got an Ethernet cable in LAN port 1 on the RT-AC86U. That is the node I want, and then in the back of the main GT-AX11000 router as well as the in LAN port 1 as well. So these are connected by Ethernet cables and not by Wi-Fi. So it'll be the same process as connecting to Wi-Fi. But I do say if you're having trouble like I was with connecting them both by Wi-Fi, then just get the supplied Ethernet cable and connect them both if you can next to each other, and connect them by Ethernet cable to set it up. So now we just click on next. Now we've selected, and it says there, do you want to add this AiMesh node to your AiMesh system? And it says if you want to find another available AiMesh node nearby, please search. So if you don't want to connect, if you've got multiple ones and it's not this one you want to connect straight away, then you can search again on here. So if we click connect, you'll see now it's going through. They'll give you a percentage, and it will give you basically trying to set up that now the RT-AC86U router as an actual node now. So basically it's turning it into a repeater, and because like I said before, I'm using an Ethernet cable to connect them both, the Wi-Fi channels will be available on all the bands that are currently with the routers. So that means that on the GT-AX11000 I've got my one 2.4 gigahertz and my two 5 gigahertz bands, and on this RT-AC86U, because it's dual band only, so this will have just the 2.4 and then the 5 gigahertz frequency. So as you can see now, it's taken a few minutes and now it's successfully set up. So as it says here, if it successfully added the router, so that's the RT-AC86U, to the AiMesh system as a node, and it will take several minutes for it to show up within the routers list. And it says there, place your AiMesh node. So it says you've got two options here, between your AiMesh router and your existing dead zone, and then also to try and place your node in a high and open space. And it also, if you want to add another AiMesh node, you've got another router as well, then you can, instead of clicking finish, you can click search. So we just click on search if you want to click on that. So as we've only got this one, we'll just click on finished. So now as we can see, I've gone into the AiMesh page within under general settings of my main GT-AX11000 router, as you can see here, I've got 26 clients connected, and this is the home. So this is going to be the red one up the top, is always going to be the main router that you've chosen, and then underneath is going to be your different nodes that you've connected. As you can see here, I've got nothing connected, but I've got the connection quality as well. It tells you great. So if you want to find out more about it, does change this connection here. So if you're using Wi-Fi or if the quality of the connection is not very good, all you have to do is click on the eye here, and then it'll show you here. So with my green 2 lines, it shows there that the wired connections, that means I've got Ethernet cable between both the routers, and it's got great connection quality, so that's the highest. Then you've got orange, you've got the wired connection with normal connection quality, and then you've got a wireless connection with great, and then you've got weak signal, good signal by power line, and then weak. So it does identify, and also it's got a connection here if it's disconnected. And there is an FAQ if you want further information around these connections on the Acer's website that you can also go to. So as you can see here, you can do, once you have your node connected, you can now see what devices are going to connect to it. As I said, I haven't got anything currently, but it does give you a few more options. So it says they're still home, so I can select here and then choose where I want it. So you have bedroom, so you've got custom as well. So I can just select this one as bedroom. So as you see now, the symbol changes here, and also it says here about the different ones here. So as you can see here, this is on the bedroom now, and it says there's 1 client connected. So something's starting to connect to it. So as you can see here, you do have features like you had before on the main router. So you've got your client list, so you can select which wired, wireless, and all of them. Then you have network. So you can see here the backhaul information, transmission speeds, and the signals, and the transmission rate of both the bands. As I said, this router's only got one 2.4 gigahertz and one 5 gigahertz, and it's a Wi-Fi 5 or AC standard as we have here. So as you can see here, we've got the network as well, and the uplink type is Ethernet, and it's at 1 gigabits per second, and that's the maximum for this router here. And so you've got management, so here as well, so you can do things here. So as we've got it on Ethernet only, so you can choose here, so you can see the priority. So you've got auto, the system will adapt, so that it will choose between the wired or wireless. Ethernet first, so I think as I've got this section, as you see highlighted, it says when Ethernet backhaul mode is enabled, the system will only use wired connection as the Ethernet backhaul. So you could choose auto, and it will basically choose the if you disconnect from the Ethernet cable, it'll use the Wi-Fi. If the Wi-Fi disconnects, then it will use the Ethernet. So it's probably best to have it on auto, but I've got it as the Ethernet backhaul, so because I know I've got a cable between them, so I don't have any problems. And also here you can remove the node if you want to, so you can remove it from your AiMesh, and then you can just reset your AiMesh using the reset button on it, and it'll put it back to factory default settings, and you can set it up to be a normal router if you want to. Just wanted to go through the option. So as you can see here of updating the firmware, so as you can see here, now we've added the AiMesh node to our network. If we go to the main router, so that's in my case the GT-AX11000, if I go to under advanced settings administration, and you'll be able to then click the check button where it will check for an update. So now you'll be able to see not just your normal router, but also the node router as well, and you'll be able to see there. So when you check, you'll be able to see there's an updated firmware. So in this case, once you do that, I've just downloaded the latest version for my RTAC86U. As you can see here, you can do a manual firmware update. So I prefer to do this option. So I've clicked the upload, and it's given you a new window here to upload the file. So as I've downloaded it in my download folder, I just click upload. It will ask me for where it's saved, and I just go to downloads, and then I find the file that should be here for the so it will list it here for the AC86U, just to make sure it's the right file, and you can see there it is, so that's fine. And then I can just open it, so just to make sure that we've got the right file as well, we can just double check to make sure. And you can see I've got my both there, so yep, okay. And now it'll apply the, so now what it'll do is it'll connect to the router, the AiMesh node, and it will now apply the firmware update. And once that's done, and as it says here, the firmware is upgrading, it will take a few minutes, normally between 3 and 5 minutes. Make sure you don't power off the router or disconnect anything from it, because it will be connecting by Wi-Fi or your Ethernet cable, so both routers, make sure that they're not going to be switched off, or the connection between them is not going to break for any reason. And again, this will now start to download, and as usual, the part of the firmware process, once it's upgraded, it will restart and then everything will connect again. So after the upgrade of the firmware has completed, as you can see now, it's moved to 0.42643 firmware now. So that's the latest for my RT AC86U. That's actually the node as we connect it here. It does add some extra features now to the management function, as we can see here. So if I click on this now we can see that it's got a lot more different features than we had before on the older firmware. So it still has the backhaul connection priority, and as there's notes around here, but also now we can switch off the LEDs. And also, if you want the uplink, you can set the preference for that as well when you click on there. But again, as I've got it connected by Ethernet, it won't give me any further options, but if you're by wireless, then it will. So that's good to see. And then also, as you can see here, as I said before, this router is dual band, and you can choose to either switch off your 2.4 or the 5 gigahertz frequency on the router as well. You have the USB application where you can set up your normal USB application, where you've got your time machine, or you've got your shared drive, or your AI Cloud 2.0. You've got again an option here to reconnect the node if it's having any issues, and also you can reboot it as well, all from the main router. So it's really good to see that they've added these functionalities on. As you can see from the previous firmware, you couldn't really do much, and now you can remove it as well like before. But as you can see here, they've added some really good features here, so to help with in one place, so you don't have to go through multiple different instances of going to the different settings. It's all under here, under the main router that you've got. And as we said before, we've got up here the optimization now, so you can click here and then it'll optimize, but because we've got it built in hardwired connection, there's not really much they can optimize on it because it's hardwired by Ethernet cable. But this is mostly that will optimize, as we said before, for Wi-Fi connections. So overall it is quite straightforward, but you did see that I did have some issues with it connecting initially, and I had to use the Ethernet cable to connect it, but lucky enough I was going to do that anyway to connect both the routers. So hopefully you won't have any issues, and you'll be able to connect this wireless node and set it up straight away. Okay, so I hope you found this video useful, and the guides that we've gone through. As usual, if you have any questions or you have any issues setting it up, then put them in the comments, and then we can work it out together, and hopefully I can help answer any questions that you have. Okay, thanks for watching, and have a great day.